So I had a little discussion with one of the students this morning on sitting in Sukhasana, which is literally translated as easy pose, with the shins crossing at the midline, the toes flexed. Now, for me, this is easy, but my body is built in a certain way, and other folks find that it's hard for them to pull their hips forward, pull their belly forward, their hips back. And in that case, you can always sit with support. I've shown you all sorts of tricks. And another one is to fashion a strap loop around the knees. So you take the knees up, put a little loop over it, like that, like a little sling, and then you drop the knees into the loop. So that's another technique. The classic pattern, which is encouraged by a lot of teachers, but simply is not feasible for many people, is the full lotus pose. And if you haven't done it before, I don't really want to do it tonight. I'm just showing you that the pretzeling of the legs advocated by certain books and teachers is the classic Padmasana. Sets a structure which allows you to sit for long periods of time and locks the hip structure in place. But, as I said, a lot of people's knees and hips do not support this pose. So something you might work toward if you're close, but at a certain point in your life, it's maybe not the best use of your time. So you can always sit in a chair and do the necessary. So without further ado, sitting in Sukhasana, balancing the shoulders over the hips, closing the eyes, and merely experiencing the breath coming in and then flowing out. As you exhale, begin to release, relax, dissolve any tension you can locate in the area around the face, the jaw, and the tongue. As you feel another exhalation occurring, relax the back of the neck, the front, the shoulders, and the collarbones. With another pouring of exhalation out of the body, releasing the side ribs, the area around the solar plexus, and another exhalation to drop the shoulder blades, the back ribs, and moving progressively downward into the lower belly. The diaphragm area is a very common place to hold a lot of tension and stress. And if you ever get the hiccups, this is a spasm of the diaphragm muscle. You can learn how to quickly eliminate the hiccups. We can try this technique now, just so you have it, placing the hands on the belly. And let's just feel with the hands the expansion outward of the diaphragm and the ribs, and the release. And so we're communicating in a way with the muscular movement of the diaphragm, just like a giant trampoline. Not only does it expand as you inhale, but it also presses downward into the belly and the abdomen and massages your stomach, intestines. So releasing that area and then releasing as you place the hands back on the legs. Any tension in the upper legs, the outer hips. And then we'll do a little bit of sound work, which now that we've combed through in a preliminary way, some of the obvious tension points in the body, we'll go underneath that muscle bone layer and we'll do a little Brahmari humming. Then you can keep the hands where they are. You can cross the palms to the front of the shoulders. Inhaling. And again, inhale. Release the hands, normal breath. Relaxing the tongue, the jaw, the back of the throat. Let's do that again. Again, you can keep the hands down. You can place them on the shoulders. Trying to feel the vibration through the body as you hum. Make the sound softer with each successive humming sound. Inhale. Releasing the hands, normal breath. And one last time. Inhale. Release the hands, normal breath. And then blinking open the eyes, keeping a soft gaze, and lying down. You can take a towel or a blanket under your head if you like. And once you're down and situated, extending one leg and the other, coming into Shavasana. Let the arms and the shoulders release down toward the mat. Let the toes splay out. And feel the weight of the floor, the weight of the body connecting with the floor. Imagine your body can just spread out in a very liquid form. Letting the space around you, the floor below you, hold you in suspension. You don't need to do anything, you don't need to be anywhere except in the immediate feeling of sensation. In this practice, you're observing the field of sensation as it rises and falls, just like the rising and falling of your breath. Thoughts may come in, sensations may come in, and you release them from any sort of holding pattern or attachment to your body or your minds. And how do you do this? You choose very specific locations to direct your intention in your mind. Last week we worked on the gateway of the breath coming in the nostrils, and we focused our attention there. We can do that again for practice. Now, if you were a sommelier or perhaps a top chef at a restaurant, you'd be using your nose in a similar and yet different way. And just directing your mind to the inflow of breath, frictioning against the nasal passages, letting that sensation spread upward into the brain, the center of the skull. And you can imagine that intake as a positive thing, as a positive experience. And the exhales as a way to dissolve more deeply any stress, any holding patterns, mentally, physically, emotionally. Let's take the hands to the lower belly as we did before. And as you breathe in through the nose, imagine you can direct the breath down toward the area of the abdomen. As you exhale and release the breath, it comes back up the spine, over the top of the head, from the back of the skull, and then re-enters the nose. So begin to create this metaphorical loop, sensory loop with your breath, from the nose down to where your hands are, the base of the spine. Exhale, flow and release up the back of the spine, over the top of the skull, and so forth. Almost as if you're recycling or recirculating breath in your own body. As the body becomes more and more relaxed and in a way hollow, you'll be able to feel more readily the movement of breath energy, the yogis call prana, in the body. As we begin to move, keep that in mind, and that your first thing that happens when you initiate a movement is that your mind gives a signal to your body. So we want to observe that more closely tonight instead of just moving randomly, willy-nilly in a more neurotic fashion that we all do during our day. As we begin to inhale, lifting the chest, lifting the low back, hips rolling forward, exhale, hips spilling back toward us. And just rocking on the sacral bone, letting the head and the rest of the spine roll as well. Keep the jaw relaxed. The mouth can even be slightly open. The eyes are soft if they're closed, or soft if they're open. So let the eyelids just lay without effort across the eyes. And you're just rocking your hips back and forth. Let's see if you can start to create pauses, particularly at the end of the exhalation, when the movement stops. Pause. And then wait for the moment of the inhale to rise and initiate the movement very slowly. Keep the cavern of the mouth, even if the lips are closed, hollow, as if you had a cough drop or something soft inside of your mouth that you were tasting. And the tongue is also very soft. So the more you can move slowly and observe the moment of movement and then the moment after movement, creating slight pauses in the action, you'll be able to experience more fully all the sensory aspects of this very simple sacral cranial movement. Now let's bring the feet closer together and cross the right knee over the left. Arms can go straight out from the side body, or they can goalpost. Inhale. As you exhale, drop the knees to the right, and let the head casually roll left. Inhale to center. And exhale, same thing, knees right, head left. Moving slowly. And then let's cross to the other side. The right goes down, left knee is over. Inhale. Exhale, knees left. And right. Keep going with that movement a few more times. You either have an owl or a strange creature outside. We're being joined by an owl this evening. Let's unwind our legs and straighten one at a time. And then go ahead and bend your knees again. And let's take the left knee up toward us and find it. Both hands. And slide your right leg long along the floor. Inhale. Slide the left knee toward you and exhale, move it away. I'm going to make little circles. Really slow from out to in. Inhaling toward, exhale away. And then reversing directions. And then switch sides. Pulling the knee toward and away. And then little circles. And let's release that right leg, slide it long. And then let's go ahead and reach our right arm up to the sky, grab the right wrist, inhale. And exhale, just gently draw that arm over to the left, letting the head roll left as well. Gently stretching the scapula, and repeat. Inhale, reaching high, and exhale, pulling the arm long to the left. Let's switch. Got the left wrist by the right hand. Inhale, and then drawing the left arm over to the right, rolling the head to the right. A few more times. And then we're going to release the arms. And now the legs and the arms should feel a little more deeply connected to the ground. And then let's slide one foot under one knee, the other foot under the other knee. Again, bringing the arms straight out from the body. Inhale. And exhale, drop your knees to the left and the head to the right, keeping the feet widely spaced. And then switch. Inhale to center, and then ski the knees over to the right, head goes left. And again, as much as possible, observing the stopping of the movement as you exhale, waiting. And then that microsecond movement before the body starts slaloming over. And because we normally move without even thinking about it, we have to slow down quite a bit to observe that correspondence. And in a way, the mind is projecting forward toward the next move. So if you can visualize the legs moving over to the other side first, and then when it's actually happening, it becomes even more automatic. You make a picture of yourself doing the movement almost before it happens. Then the body can move more smoothly, as if the movement were preordained or preset. Let's come back to center. Bring the arms closer to the hips. Slide one leg and the other leg long. And release. Now let's come to Supta Baddha Konasana, sliding the feet toward us and together, the knees wide. And you can either let your arms lay by the hips, you can slide them out from the shoulders more, or take the hands to the belly as we did before. If you get distracted, return your awareness to the inflow of breath at the base of the nostrils. Take the hands to the outer legs, bring the knees together, and we're going to roll to one side and take our knees, our upper legs to 90 degrees to our spine, and then we'll clasp opposite hand and elbow in front of our chest. Inhale, the whole body is on the left side. Exhale, the upper elbow, where elbow points down, the forehead rolls down. Inhale, rolling into the back of the skull. So that right elbow lifts up toward the sky. And then exhale, back to the first pattern. All we're doing is moving the lower shoulder in complement with the movement of the skull, the neck. And you can start to make elliptical movements with your arms, like you're kayaking. Let's see if you can keep that left upper arm bone glued to the ground. Letting the joint cavities move. And then finally, as you roll into the back of the skull, switching sides by opening the arms, rolling onto your back, maybe shifting your hips a little bit to the left. Before you roll to the right side, bring your arms together and to the other side. Inhaling and exhale, drop forehead down, left elbow points down. You'll roll onto the back of the skull and exhale back to the floor. So feel the gentle massage on the fascia on the side and back of the skull, which is very important. As well as the movement of the ball and socket joint in the right shoulder. You can make little circular elliptical movements with the arms. And then the next time you roll onto your back, come back to the center and extend one leg and the other forward. Feel the sensations in the shoulders, the throat, and the palms. And then we'll bend each knee and roll over to the side again, come up for seated for a second round of sitting. So dropping in to the pelvis and the sitting bones, and you should be a little more comfortable sitting now after moving the legs. So relax the shoulders, close the eyes softly. And as quickly as you can, bring your awareness to the base of the nose, smoothly drawing in breath. Moving it down to the abdomen, and then exhale, releasing it up the back of the spine. So the breath is your body's way of replenishing your system, bringing in oxygen, carrying out waste. And partly when you meditate, it's no great mystery that if you can disengage or relax from a lot of movement and effort, calm down the nervous system through the sound of the breath, and then imagine in your mind's eye this gathering of energy as you inhale, feeding all the cells in your body. And as you exhale and release, releasing, dissolving, dispersing any toxicity, any waste. Begin to sit a little longer at the end of the exhale, waiting for the next inhale. In that moment of pause, as the exhale trails off, soften the tongue, the belly, the shoulders. We'll do a couple of rounds of the ha breath, inhaling, gently opening the mouth, and it's like you're fogging up a mirror. And inhale through the nose. And release. One more, inhale. Normal breath. And then standing as you blink open the eyes. And we'll come to standing meditation. The feet are hip width or wider, palms facing back alongside the hips. So I have a mini trampoline, I'm confessing, and often I'll go and bounce on the trampoline for my limb system. But you don't actually need a trampoline, and if you had little springs under your heels, if you were to just bounce up and down on your, staying on the balls of your feet like I'm doing, and just bounce, and then let the heels get weighted again, taking the weight back, and take a few breaths. So we're just springing on the body, on the feet, the balls of the feet. It can be very subtle. And shoulders jiggle loose. head, the jaw, the belly, and then rolling back to the heels, dropping the tailbone, any tension in the belly and the hips, and sinking into the heels. One more time, just springing, and then sitting back on the heels, drop the tailbone, drop any tension in the belly, and breathe. Now let's do the body drumming, swinging and tapping opposite shoulder, moving across the collarbones. And let the motion be subtle, and the hand just comes up in response to the swinging of the torso. Coming across the side ribs to the solar plexus, and then below belly, sides of the waist, into the center. And if you can create a picture of yourself in your mind's eye, spiraling, and then it's not so much that you're disassociating from your own body, but you're able to observe the motion as it's happening with a little more detachment. Slow it down and sit into the heels. Now we're going to take the arms up to the sky as we spin to the side, and then over above the head, the other side, and just swinging the arms freely like a swing set. And this is not quite as slow yet. I'm just spiraling the spine. Again, shaking loose any knots or disturbances in the rib cage, muscles along the rib cage, and then letting the arms swing down and rest by the sides. Closing the eyes, observing the sensations created in the arms, the fingertips, opening the eyes and rubbing the palms together, creating sensation in the palms. And then imagine you've got a little squishy ball between your palms as you press them toward one another and move them a few inches away. Do this with your eyes soft or closed. Slow it down. We're sensing a connection between the palms. Even them soft, the arms soft. Inhale, opening the palms. Exhale, moving them toward one another. As you open and then close the hands toward one another, feel the entire body opening to the healing energy around you, and then exhale, moving in toward the center line of the core, as if you were a giant sea creature, almost like a jellyfish, pulsing, and the palms are only the flywheel of this motion. Any sensations you notice in the skin of the palms are interesting, but don't get caught up in them. Now we're going to open our eyes, and as we inhale, we're going to scoop up as if there were substance we created in our hands. Maybe it's syrupy fluid, and we're going to bring it up just over the head, and then flip the palms down and pour that imaginary substance without touching the body over the head, front of the face, the neck, chest, solar plexus, and belly. Same thing, inhaling, scooping up, and then pouring down. You can do this with your eyes closed or open. And we're creating a mental imagery of catching something in the palms. There's substance around the body. You can think of it as water, syrup, whatever is pleasurable, and then pouring it over the body. And then letting the hands come down to the side of the hips, closing the eyes if they're open, sinking into the relaxed legs, knees soft. One more, we create that ball between the hands, an image. Inhale, lift it up the shoulders. And now bend the knees a little bit. Exhale, flip the palms down. You're pressing hands down. And as the hands come down, the legs straighten. Grab your ball, lift it up to shoulder level as you sink down a little bit. And then flip the palms and rise as the hands go down. So this one's called Heaven and Earth, and we're really stirring in our body the grounded forces of the earth with the prana, which is poetically called heaven, in the upper body, the chest and so forth. And these two are being mixed the way you'd mix two ingredients for a recipe. So bring the earth element up in the hands. And then as we press down, we're pressing the prana element from the chest down into the lower body so that it gets light and the legs telescope to straight without very much effort at all. And if you go slowly with this exercise, you begin to feel a very pleasant sensation of groundedness and lightness at the same time, which is what we want. And so now as you bring your hands down the final time, palms back, closing the eyes, imagine the body is not made of muscles and bones, organs, blood, but it's full of helium, and you're like a Macy's Day balloon just floating. Floating, the weight can shift slightly forward, back to the side. And let's start to pour our weight over to our right foot and let our helium balloon body imperceptibly shift over to the right. Pausing there. And then inhaling, slowly moving to the center, bending the left knee, and just making the suggestion in your mind's eye that you're eventually going to end up with the weight pouring into the left foot without pushing the weight over. Slow transfer. Again, if you're someone who's done any baking and you've worked with thick fluids, syrup, we're now moving the fluid slowly over. And we can imagine first with our mind that we're going to move or float our body over into the space before we actually physically start moving. Sounds simple. Now we can add the hands if you've been coming to class a lot. When we go to the right foot, the right hand comes up, palm faces up as if you're holding a soap bubble, and then fingers point across. The hand moves across the chest area as the weight shifts left. And drop that palm down. Up comes the left hand catch, imaginary soap bubble stuck to your palm as you face it to your chest and glide the relaxed arm over in the direction of travel. This is called waving the hands in the clouds. Again, a very simple movement, but going slowly and not rushing, pushing. You can begin to feel the sensations in the palms, the soles of the feet, as everything in between those sensory fields is soft and voluminous and floating. Again, imagining before you move where you're going. And then taking your time to get there. So if you've already gotten there in your mind, the notion, then there's no sense of rushing. You already know your destination. And so you enjoy the slow sensation of movement over toward that endpoint. And release the hands into the center. And again, just feeling that helium balloon style body. Let's do a few more things before we close. We're going to lift the arms up, inhale, and then do a ha breath as the arms swing. Inhale, exhale. And then we're going to take the opposite elbows, bend our knees quite a bit, forward fold. We'll breathe into the spine, starting with the base of the spine, the low back, a few breaths, the mid back, a few breaths, the upper back, a few breaths. Imagining that we can breathe space between the vertebrae. Drop the arms down. Slowly come up with the tailbone pressing down toward the heels. And the head is last to rise. And standing. Do a chakra clearing. The hands are going to face the sacrum. The same shifting, cloud-like movement from foot to foot. And now envision the breath moving down to this point in the sacral area, the root chakra, the base of the spine. And this we want to envision as a circular space that we can release any tension out of and clean it out in a way with this gentle cradling or moving of the body. And you can't really predict, you can create this image of a space there, but you may, depending on what kind of nervous system you have, you may see colors there, you may just feel sensations. I tend not to direct specific things in this exercise other than being present and bringing the mind to this area. And then we'll take the hands a little bit above this so that the fingertips are a few inches below the belly button. And the second chakra. Again, we simply envision a hollow space there. Hollowness, And so if there's tension, we dissolve it and we bring in a calmness and openness. If there's nerviness there, we slowly try to unwind it. When we come up to the solar plexus, now we're getting closer to the base of the vagus nerve. And again, our friend the diaphragm, which when the diaphragm tenses, the throat, the tongue, the jaw tend to react. So we're cradling the solar plexus, the diaphragm, and almost like you would cradle a small infant, lulling it into relaxation. And this space in the solar plexus, now clearing, cleaning, dissolving any emotional, mental tension there. And then we move up to the chest, and we work in this heart center. Getting nearer to the root of the tongue. So you may feel sensations up into the base of the tongue, into the jaw, shoulders relaxing. Glide the elbows up a little bit, let the fingers lift like a veil over the throat, hovering away from the body and feeling the throat chakra in the center of the throat. And bringing your mind to this area, clearing the tension there. And then lifting the fingers up like a veil over the eyes and focusing on the spot between the eyes, center of the brain. Bring the hands over the head like you have a small ball. You're cradling over your head. And bring your attention to the crown of the head, the top of the skull. Very sacred in certain cultures. And this is top of the skull and is often personified as a lotus floating in water. And the hands come down to the third eye again. So the brain, the skull can relax into that watery world. And the brain is a multi-petaled lotus flower. Floating in fluids. Any tension in the skull, releasing, working down to the throat. The elbows drop, hands rest on the chest, heart center. And then down to the solar plexus. Down to the spot, second chakra, just below the belly button. And then the hands working off the body for the root chakra. If you have experienced a feeling of nausea, then believe it or not, that's actually a good thing. And as we sit one more time, before we lie down, We're allowing that toxicity, that chakra clearing now to just dispel out of the body. You can't control entirely what you absorb during the day. And because it's been a little bit rough, our bodies are holding quite a bit of subliminal stress. Doing these exercises now as we lay in Shavasana allows us to get rid of that junk. So imagine it can just ooze out of the body now, spill out to the space around you, as if you were floating in water, and dissolve. Letting the breath slow down and redirecting your attention to face the nose. Now also sensing that any portion of the skin enveloping your body can absorb energy, sensation from the field of space around you, soaking it in like sunlight. And then as you exhale, any pore of your skin, any cell can release. Make gentle movements to your fingers and toes before you bend one knee and the other. And then you can roll to one side, come up to seated. And see how your base is now feeling your leg base and the spine, like the stem of a plant growing out of the pelvis and the leg structure. The eyes soft, the face, expression of the face soft and pleasing, as if the sunlight were falling on the face, the shoulders, sense of warmth and well-being. And then bring the palms softly together. Namaste.